Hello, I'm your instructor Jaime Guerra, and we'll be going over chapter 1, the science of biology. Okay, so we're going to learn about a young English naturalist named Charles Darwin who led a 5 year voyage on the Beagle where he developed the theory of evolution and natural selection. Key terms such as cellular organization, order, complexity, all the way to artificial selection, natural selection, and genome. So these are some keywords to uh, help you better understand the chapter. Contents of Chapter 1 are basically 1.1, the science of life, 1.2, the nature of science, 1.3, Darwin and evolution, and 1.4, unifying themes in biology. 1.1. At the end of the chapter, you will be able to explain and compare biology to other natural sciences, describe the characteristics of living systems, and characterize the taxonomy of levels of organizations of all things which bring life. So all living systems share 7 characteristics, which are the contents in which help the maintenance and reproduction of cells. There is one cellular organization, which consists of one or more cells, and then you have much more complex and ordered complexity, which both complex and highly ordered. And 3, you have sensitivity. All organisms respond to a stimuli. Example: plants grow toward a source of light, and the pupils of your eyes dilate when you walk into a dark room. And you have 4, growth, development, and reproduction. That's self-explanatory. And 5, you have energy utilization, which all organisms take in energy and use it to perform many kinds of work. And you have homeostasis, where you have to maintain a relatively constant internal conditions that are different from your environment. And 7, evolutionary adaptation, which all organisms interact with other organisms in the non-living environment in ways that influence their survival. And as a consequence, organisms evolve adaptations to their environment. The organization of the biological world is hierarchical, which where each level builds on the level below it. The cellular level, such as atoms, molecules, organelles, and cells. And then you have the organismal level, made up of tissues and organs, making the organ system. And you have the population level, a population of species which make up a biological community. And you have the ecosystem, which is a population of multiple species. And then you have the biosphere. And 1.2, the nature of life, right here to your right, you're going to have to be able to explain and compare the different types of reasoning used by biologists to demonstrate how to formulate and test a hypothesis. And testing a hypothesis requires deductive reasoning, which applies general principles to predict specific results. And then you have inductive reasoning, uses specific observations to construct general scientific principles. Pretty self-explanatory, don't you think? And formulating a hypothesis and testing an experiment requires, the formulation of a hypothesis, testing the hypothesis using an experiment, establishing the controls, and using predictions. 1.3, an example of scientific inquiry: Darwin and evolution. You must be able to explain and evaluate Darwin's theory of evolution and natural selection, describe the evidence of Darwin's findings. Darwin wrote a book called On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. He sailed on a ship called the Beagle, famous for sketching plants and birds he discovered on the Galapagos Islands. He proposed natural selections in his observation of finches. Darwin's contributions to biology are selection, natural selection, artificial selection, fossil records, the age of the earth, mechanisms of heredity, comparative anatomy, which the structure of the organism is homologous or analogous, and he sparked interest at the molecular level. In 1.4, you will be able to explain and discuss unifying themes in biology, contrast living and non-living systems. Schwann and Schleiden observed that all living organisms consist of cells, which is known as the cell theory. The complex, detailed genetic information is encoded by a long cable-like molecule called deoxyribonucleic acid. Sequences of several to many thousand nucleotides make up a gene, a unit of genetic information. The entire set of genetic instructions of DNA is called a genome. Biologists divided the diversity of life into 3 domains, which are bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. Bacteria and archaea are prokaryotes, and eukarya are eukaryotes. On the right, you have What are prokaryotes and eukaryotes? Prokaryotes are single-celled organisms which do not contain a nucleus, and eukaryotes consist of a complex organized cell or multiple cells. There are four kingdoms of eukaryote: kingdom Protista, kingdom Plantae, kingdom Fungi, and kingdom Animalia. So what have we learned so far? Well, we've learned about the basic understanding of biological systems and a conceptual derivative understanding. We look at seven characteristics of all living systems have in common. Seven characteristics are on cellular organization, the order, complexity, sensitivity, growth, development, reproduction, aspect, energy utilization, homeostasis, and evolutionary adaptation. We look at the hierarchical levels of organization, which start at the cellular level, the organismal level, the population level, the ecosystem, and the biosphere. We jump into the next concept, which is understanding the buildup of research and theories. We learn in deductive and inductive reasoning, how to formulate a hypothesis, test the hypothesis, and make observations, ultimately leading to a conclusion whether your hypothesis was correct. If not, restate your hypothesis and follow the scientific method again. 1.3 Darwin proposed a theory of evolution through natural selection. He sailed on board the Beagle ship. He formulated a hypothesis which came up with selection, either artificial or natural selection. He even questioned how old the Earth was, which is complementary to evolution. 1.4 The cell is the basic unit of life. Heredity information is encoded in genes found in the DNA molecule. There are three domains, of which two are prokaryotes, which are archaea and bacteria, and eukarya. There are four kingdoms in the eukarya domain, which are kingdom Protista, kingdom Plantae, kingdom Fungi, and kingdom Animalia.